If you got a wife, need not apply. These are the gays of our lives. Yeah, these are the gays of our lives.
Hi, everyone. This is Drew.
And this is Sarah.
Welcome to These Are the Gays of Our Lives. I actually said it without laughing.
So I know. That was pretty good. Now
so
we
this
do
is,
laugh.
Yeah, right. This is a podcast where we talk about the stories of probably not too well-known and well-known closeted gays and lesbians and everything in between. So
correct. Yeah.
The thing that we do is we'll each pick a story or pick a person and then tell their story. But before we go into that, we have a segment called, Hey, that's kind of gay. So these are, I guess, scenes or something from TV or movies where, there's something kind of up. With that. It
You're
might be.
You look at someone next to you and say, was that kind of gay? And the other person says, I think it was.
I think it was. And sometimes it's not kinda, it's totally. So, okay. So you go first.
Okay. So mine is an entire movie, and it was made in 2000, and it is a cartoon from DreamWorks, and it is called The Road to El Dorado, and it has two. I actually maybe have shown it to a class. So it is these two characters, these two male characters. They are Tulio and Miguel. Miguel is a Spanish-sounding name, wouldn't you think? But he is played by actor Kenneth Branagh, who is very English.
Yes.
And he was probably cheating on his iconic wife, Emma Thompson, isn't it, at the time? A big douche. And Tulio, played by Kevin Kline, again, not very Hispanic, but Tulio and Miguel are like hood rats, like Aladdin was, a street rat. And they are looking for the, legend of the lost city of gold or whatever, El Dorado, the city of all this gold. And they find a map to the city of the gold. And so they go on this adventure to find the city of gold. And the whole adventure to the city of gold is just gay after gaydom. They ride one horse with one's genitals up against the other one's butthole. They bathe together very closely in the same lake where there's lots of other room, but they're very close. They're touching each other constantly. They are very much a married couple, which if they were a married couple, it would be a great movie. And I just think they just didn't say they were married, but I think they are married in the movie. But it's very much a musical gay couple road to El Dorado adventure. So if you want to see a gay cartoon with an English and American accented Hispanic couple, this is for you. Road to El Dorado. With multiple gay scenarios.
Yes. Wow. I had no idea. I don't think I've seen that movie.
I don't think many have.
Okay, so mine is, so as you know, I'm a James Bond fan.
Yes,
and I love all the movies, even though they're almost 100% of them are problematic. And full of all the isms and everything.
Oh, tons.
But
just rape and everything else.
Yeah, sexual
My parents
assault,
loved them
everything.
Too. Yeah. And every kind of horrible racism there is.
Yes. All of it.
I love them to death.
I do too. So
I can't help it.
So my scene that's kind of gay is from the second Bond movie, which is From Russia with Love. And Rosa Klebb is number 3, like Inspector. She's the villain. Oh. One of the villains. So she's at like the embassy or something like that. They bring Tatiana, who becomes like the James Bond's love interest.
Of course.
And so Rosa Klebb is like a former KGB. She's a very handsome woman.
Okay.
She
She has a dusting of a mustache or just full mustache.
Yeah. And so they're interviewing her to see that if the girl Tatiana will go and seduce James Bond and all this stuff, right?
So seducing James Bond is just standing there as a woman.
Yeah, stand in front of him. There. Yeah. So during the interview, Rosa is assessing like Tatiana's looks and everything, and at one point caresses her face like full on, and even like touches her leg, like because like she's Rosa Klebb is like sitting on a desk. And like right in front of her and touches her leg, and they both have like like a weird, like such a strange moment. And it's so wonderful to watch because it's just
Rosa Klebb have a huge boner.
Yeah. Her lady bone is strong, and it's just so cringy, but like kind of like sexual. Like it's just really weird. It's so unexpected.
Number 2 James Bond. That's in the 60s, right?
Yeah. It's like the second one. And so
Rosa Klebb, you are an icon.
Right. This is the worst. This is not even the best part.
Oh God.
So, all of the books all the movies are books, right?
Yeah.
And so Ian Fleming is the author, and he says, as he's characterizing Rosa Klebb, which also sounds like in Russian or in some Eastern European language, like women's rights or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's like a play on that sound. But he characterizes her as the oldest and ugliest whore in the world.
That's
Oh my God. I died when I looked this up. And so this is like a dig at like the
good. It's either an awesome compliment or horrible.
Right. That's right. Ugliest whore in the world. So it's it's obviously like a dig at the Iron Curtain femininity and like the the Eastern European female athlete jokes.
Yes,
it's all part of this, right? So I guess she's more feminine in the book than she is in the film, but I don't know how feminine an old ugly whore is.
What is the costuming for an old ugly whore?
Okay. Right. And the role of whore goes to oh my God! But also
for old ugly whores.
The part of the character too is she's these unwanted advances toward Tatiana reinforce this idea of like unrelatable and foreign and like dehumanizing, which was totally a trope in a lot of these old movies, right? Like the villain a lot of times is the gay person or effeminate man or just like a deviant, right?
Yes. That works into my person, actually.
Ooh.
That whole idea.
Yeah. Okay, so then our next segment is called Not a Kick to the Crotch with an Iron Boot, which is also known as a feel-good story.
A feel-good story. So mine is, since we were pretty obsessed with the Summer Olympics that happened this summer, obviously.
Yes.
There was a record number of LGBTQ plus athletes this year competing. 193. I guess that said they were. I suppose there could be more.
So they're out.
And a record number of male athletes were publicly out. 20. I mean, that's pretty good for male athletes. Because, geez, it's not that easy. But that I guess is the most ever.
Were they
competing.
all divers?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Many were divers, and I wish many more French divers
Right.
were gay with those monster hogs and those giant wangs.
Yes.
Or pole vaulters with their huge 10-foot dong.
Jeez.
But there was a Brazilian gymnast that was out, Arthur Mariano, I think. Tom Daly, of course, who was, I don't know if he was getting divorced or if he was still married. I don't know. There was something about him.
Oh, his husband was there with the kids.
Oh, okay. Then maybe it wasn't him. A few soccer players, track stars. Yeah, just all over the board. So record number.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So this is proof that we share a brain because my not a kick to the crotch is also the Olympics, but it has to do with the breakdancing competition.
Oh,
which I really wanted to like it, and I really did not. And I remember we were texting about this, but the thing that is actually feel good. I didn't watch the horrible Australian.
I turned it on and that was on.
Oh,
and I thought,
God.
What is happening?
So I tuned into the finals, and so this is like the cream of the crop, right?
Yeah.
And the women's one women's in quotes went first.
Yeah.
And I was like watching, and they run out after they call their name, and they all go by some weird like dance name,
Q-tip.
Right? Yeah.
Herpes.
And one was like a number, and then like it was so strange. But anyway, they're all walking out, and I was like, "Wait, do I have this right? I'm getting a lot of like they them / he energy from a lot of the women dancers, which is fine, and it was great that there's a place for them. But I was like, wow, this is like really queer, really gay.
Yeah.
Because it's clear that these women dancers, they're not super, super feminine. And so I was like, this is actually really cool. And like giving visibility. I mean, they're not walking out with a, pride flag or anything, but it was really, really something else to see, like in the Olympics too. So it was really, but I still did not like watching it.
Their performances. No, it seems like they were really made a safe space for people to obviously be out and comfortable.
Yeah.
And talking about it. And I guess gay Paris maybe makes it
that's right.
better to be, feel safe to be yourself in that space. Mm-hmm. And not get kicked in the crotch with an iron boot.
That's right.
God. No, good. Yeah, the breakdancing was, I just don't understand what happened.
Yeah, I didn't get it. And maybe at some point I'll get it if I ever watch it again, but it wasn't what I was expecting.
I think people didn't understand the rules or what was expected.
And the scoring and like the weird kind of, because it's basically like a dance battle. Yeah. Right? Like,
I think so. Yeah.
Like Electric Boogaloo kind of.
Yes.
Turbo and what's his
Turbo and Ozone.
Ozone. Yeah.
Yeah. And Special K.
Oh, she was special.
She was. She had a convertible bug Volkswagen, and I thought, I need to have one of those.
I wanted one too.
I know.
Okay, so should we get into our stories?
Yes.
So we are doing the theme of like old Hollywood or movie stars.
Yes.
And I hope that we end up like, we'll end up doing other themes like TV and probably athletes and some other stuff. But so we are in the middle of our movie star episode or movie star themes, and today's episode is all about the
screen.
ladies.
Yeah, vintage lesbians.
Yes. So this is the female episode.
Yes.
Okay, so I picked Barbara Stanwyck, which I did not know much about her, and I'm now obsessed. I love her so much. And so this is the other thing that we were talking about, like all of these old Hollywood movie stars, there isn't any kind of like definitive, confirmation that any of these folks were gay or lesbian.
No.
It is just kind of rumors. And then, once they die, and then maybe 10 or 20 years later, then all these stories come out. And then that's when their stories start getting told. So I think Barbara is fits into that, where the show that I watched is called Straight Down the Line. That's the name of it. The Hollywood Collection. It's on YouTube and it's on Amazon Prime. It was made in 2005. But nobody says in that thing that she's a lesbian. So I had to do some other research. But again, I think there's a lot of coded language in a lot of this. So let's get into Barbara's story.
I'm excited.
So everybody describes her as tough. So
is that coded for lesbian back then?
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I wrote. I know.
Yeah.
She was tough, but everyone loved her. Well, of course. She did over 80 films.
Good grief.
And so this show that I watched it's quite a joy because it's so weird. So she's passed on, so she's not in it. But all of these other movie stars, male movie stars particularly, are talking about her and describing her throughout this documentary. And many of them we are very familiar with. And so, but the stuff that they say they're just so strange. So Robert Wagner is in it, our favorite.
God. Yeah.
And he says she had a great range. So she was known for doing lots of different types of characters. And then Roddy McDowall, who's in our favorite Overboard.
Yeah.
So he's a weirdo too, but
he is a odd duck.
Yeah. So he says, in his British accent, he was in A Taste of Evil with her. I loved watching her in movies because of her dexterity and subtlety of it. She never anticipates everything and is always brand new and rewarding.
Oh.
And I don't really know what that means.
Like, just say she was a regular, makes sense.
Right. I know. Is it a British thing? Like, why do you have to be so weird? Charlton Heston is in it. And he's like, I can't remember which movie they were in together. She was one of this is great. She also coming from good old Chuck.
Yeah.
She was one of a very small group of women who became stars by being strong women.
That means I couldn't fuck her.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. She was one of the few that wouldn't give me a blowjob on the set.
That's right. So he says she was one of the very few tough women who came across sympathetically and with whom the audience could identify. Okay.
Well, yeah, or a woman could identify with a woman being not just a
like a victim
in the corner or so. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That's nice.
So this is the best one. So Ricardo Montalban from Fantasy Island.
Yeah.
He is a weirdo too. He says,
how could he not be?
I know. So this is interesting too. I think he was in a movie with her and his wife was friends with her later on. So anyway, he says she had this, you can imagine him with this accent. She had the simplicity of, yes.
Give me a drink.
Island. Yeah. She had the simplicity of art. She had the inner fire on the control.
Oh.
What in the hell?
Does that mean she has diarrhea?
What is that? She had inner fire. Yes. I have IBS, so that's the same thing.
That's very inner fire.
Inner fire on the control. Just tell us what you're meaning. This makes no sense. Yeah,
we don't need to be always artistic and weird when you answer a goddamn question.
That's what I think is really great about this show is that it really highlights the weirdness of these artists.
Yes.
And actors. So she was born Ruby Stevens in 1907 in Brooklyn to a poor family, and she was orphaned at 4 years old. Oh, shit. So get this. Her mother was killed when she fell off of a streetcar.
How do you fall off a streetcar?
I don't know. Was she hanging off of it? And then...
it's 1 foot fall. I mean, you're not falling...
It wasn't clear on it. Like, did it run her over? Or she... Complications? I don't know.
Good Lord.
And then, because her father was such a wonderful guy, then left.
Oh, my God. Of course.
So she had a younger brother, and they weren't put in the same foster home. So this is totally going to mess you up, right?
No, you're traumatized already.
Yeah. So she had an older sister, Millie, who was a showgirl. So this is in New York, and took excuse me, took her on the road. And then eventually she became a chorus girl and worked in the Ziegfeld Follies.
Oh, well, that's actually kind of cool.
I know, isn't that neat?
I would love to work in the Ziegfeld Follies, except they would say, ma'am, you need to put a paper bag
Sir,
over
we
your
aren't taking
and go in the wings.
a little too
Handsome.
So she was a pony in the Ziegfeld Follies, which the only thing I know about the Ziegfeld Follies is from Funny Girl.
Yeah, of course.
And,
nobody else knows
Florence,
shit about that. Yeah.
Ziegfeld. So she worked on a show called The Noose, and the producer gave her the name Barbara Stanwyck because when they were, I guess in the theater, there were old programs, and she was like, or the director, the producer was like, yeah, you can't be Ruby. And so he just looked up two names and put Barbara and Stanwyck together.
Oh my God.
So
because Ruby's not a bad name. Like Ruby Stevens seems like a good Hollywood name.
It sounds like
I
know. Sounds like a Hollywood or like a celebrity, right?
Yeah.
So she's doing these things. She's introduced to Frank Fay, who was a vaudevillian MC. And this is like a part of like show business that I know nothing about vaudeville or burlesque and all these things, right? And so anyway, they would eventually get married, and then they would go to Hollywood. And then it didn't go well.
Oh, what?
And like, I guess they didn't get jobs.
Oh, okay.
And because they're part of like this, theater kind of vibe, and that doesn't translate always to the film.
No,
right?
It doesn't really sometimes.
Yeah. So she meets with a director called Frank Capra, and he actually wants nothing to do with her because he doesn't think like, oh, it's a stage girl, whatever. And then, but her husband, Frank Fay, tells him, you have to watch this scene from The Noose that she did in New York. And then he's like, oh yeah, you're right. And then gives her the role. So when she came to Hollywood, and this is the narrator says, when she came to Hollywood, Barbara was not a raging beauty. She had pleasant looks, dark hair, rather Irish looking.
Oh,
burn? I don't know what
is that.
What's that? Irish looking. Terrible.
Like, but I know
it does. It sounds racist or something.
It's a really racist burn, and I don't get it.
And the thing is, like Barbara Stanwyck, she's actually like a gay icon and a lesbian icon, because when she started, she's very glamorous and pretty. She's not like, but pretty in kind of like an average Hollywood way, right? I think that's why she could play all these different parts. And so anyway, she's rather Irish looking. But Frank Fay had to be the king. And so he didn't like her getting, more attention or roles or whatever.
Oh, good God.
So her star is rising. His is not.
Just like A Star is Born.
I know, right? Yeah, just like that. So in 1935, she does Annie Oakley, which is very famous show with the Western, right?
Yeah.
Where she's like, shoot. Well, that's Annie, Get Your Gun, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
I
her.
think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So then their marriage is on the rocks. She wanted to have children, but couldn't. I don't know what that means.
Oh.
And so they adopted a son. And then Frank fell into alcohol and became physically abusive. And then they would end up getting divorced.
Frank, you dick.
I know. So, excuse me. So then fast forward to, she's friends with William Holden, who would eventually star in The Golden Boy in 1939. And she's like friends with all these people. And in 1941, she was in Lady Eve with Henry Fonda. So they show all this footage.
Yeah.
It's like all iconic stuff that even if you haven't seen the movies, you probably have seen these clips. And she had great relationships with all of her film crews, and she knew them all by name, of course.
Yes.
And they all called her Missy, which I thought was really cute. And they treated her like one of the guys. I'm sure.
I think they did. I'm sure they did. She had the cigar just like the rest of them.
Right. And so I think the endearing term of Missy ended up like lots of people started using that with her. So that's really nice. So she met Robert Taylor and did some terrible movies with him, but it was obvious that they were in love. This is what people are saying. And then come back to our friend Ricardo Montalban. And he said, he's talking about Greta Garbo and Betty Davis and Barbara Stanwyck. And he says, when I was young in the 30s, at the time, I knew nothing about acting. And you can see, you can hear him like just be so like dramatic about this.
Of course.
But instinctively, I felt that in Davis and in Greta Garbo, I enjoyed the histrionics. They were bigger than life, and it was exciting to watch. But then, when I saw Barbara Stanwyck, I noticed in her an inner power with less histrionics. I'm sorry.
What does that mean?
What is histrionics? I've never heard that word in my life.
Yeah. Like she wasn't so like hyper
over the
screaming.
top? Yeah,
over the top.
Melodramatic or something.
Yeah.
But I've never heard that word ever. And I took the GRE twice. Come on. Okay, so then she's in Ball of Fire with Gary Cooper.
Ball fire?
Ball of Fire.
Oh.
Ball.
You need some gold bond.
Ball of Fire. And the role was written for Ginger Rogers.
Oh.
But she turned it down because the role was too common. And she didn't do those. I know. What a dumb bitch. Well, Barbara got it. Yeah. So Barbara reads the script and she says, "You bet I love playing common broads." And her character's name, this is too much. Her character's name is Sugar Puss O'Shea.
No. Hey, let's name our baby Sugar Puss. Oh.
This is like Pussy Galore.
Yeah, it is.
The Irish version. Oh my God.
A lot of vagina. What was that on Austin Powers?
Yes, that's right. So most of the major stars, had like these really big personas, and Barbara did not. And so she didn't really like talking about herself or anything like that. And so she could adopt any role because there was nobody saw her in like a particular way. And so she could play mothers in tragedies or, wild madcap comedies. This is what the narrator was saying. She could play adventures. She really loved the Westerns, and she actually really, really liked doing those because of like working with the horses and the stunts and all that stuff. Because she was a manly gal.
Yeah. Garbo's not going to do those.
No. So then, you know who Robert Stack is?
Yes.
From Unsolved Mysteries, right?
Yes, of course.
So they're friends. And because he's friends with her husband, Barbara's husband.
Okay.
And Robert Stack's wife is friends with Barbara.
All right. So they're foursome.
Yeah. So he's in it, and he's kind of weird too, talking about how they go to like his father's duck lodge and shoot skeet together. And Barbara didn't like that very much. And, some of the other ladies, like Gary Cooper's wife, whose name was Rocky.
Oh my God.
Dear. They love to shoot. All this stuff. So then anyway, Robert Taylor, Barbara's husband, gets a wandering wing for younger women.
Of course.
As one does. And that's that. That ends that relationship or their marriage.
Good for you, Barbara. Kick his wandering wang to the curb.
So then Barbara's in a movie called Clash by Night. I've never heard of this movie, but also Marilyn Monroe has a small role in it.
Really?
And this role, they became friends in, or this movie, they allowed them to become friends, and was really like, Barbara was like a mentor to Marilyn. And this is really such a neat story that, so I guess it was common for directors to be kind of mean to actors, to like treat them like shit or be like, yeah, that wasn't very good or whatever.
They probably still do today.
Yeah, I'm sure they still do. But Barbara didn't like that. And so the director was being mean to some like bit player in the show in Clash by Night. And Barbara said, I guess she was in it and saw this or something. And she said, cut, and went over to the director and told him to apologize. Otherwise, she was going to be on the next train home.
Oh,
and I was like,
her to stand
I
up
know,
for people.
like that's what an ally is, right?
And be a decent human being and not a dick all the time.
So, yeah, I mean, like, use your privilege to like give voice to people who have no voice. Like, I thought that was so cool. So, Robert Wagner, our friend.
Oh, Jesus.
So they're in a movie called Titanic, not the Leo DiCaprio one.
Robert Wagner also pushed people off the Titanic.
Yeah, that's right. I know. I'm like, okay, when is this in like the timeline with Natalie? Like, this is weird. Okay. So anyway, he says that she was never really concerned about her looks or her makeup, or she was really interested more in the character. And apparently they had a secret, this isn't in this movie or in the documentary, but they had a secret affair.
Ooh, with Robert Wagner?
I know, and Barbara Stanwyck. When he was 22.
Oh, God.
And she was 45.
Oh, I don't see him doing that. That's weird.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
But there are many sources online that say,
but
and it's on.
I can tell. He seems like a job climber, or I'm going to pork her to get ahead in business.
Yes, and she's 20-something years older than him, so she's totally seasoned, right, in this industry, and he's 22, so it's like, of course, he's going to do some movie stars. So she loves doing the westerns and the pioneer women because she's getting older now, and she likes doing the stunts. And she did a TV series called Big Valley with Linda Evans.
Oh, that's right.
I had no idea. So Wonder Woman.
I've never seen it, but I had heard about that show.
Yeah. So this is why everybody loves her, because she
Valley for lesbians.
Yes. The Amazon Valley. So she's a really good what do you call it? Like mentor to a lot of these younger actresses and stuff. So it's really, really cool. And then she's also responsible for Aaron Spelling getting his big
dick
break. Again. I know.
How old is he now? 140 in this time?
He's everywhere. He was in our last episode.
Yeah.
With Sal Mineo, who punched his lights out.
Because he's porking a little girl or something.
Oh, God. So anyway, Aaron Spelling said she would do anything. She said, I would do anything. I will show fear. So talking to him as a writer, right? I will do anything. I'll show fear. I'll show vulnerability, but I want a strong woman. There are too many things being done on television where women are just victims. I don't want to be a victim, Aaron. I can be victimized, but I don't want to be a victim. I'm like, this bitch, I love her.
I know.
Like,
she's
just
way
that
ahead
alone.
of her time.
Oh, totally. Totally ahead of her time. And it's like, no wonder people would like flock to that. Like the gays and the lesbians would love this. Anybody would.
And she had the balls enough to say what she thought.
Right.
And say
knowing
what was right.
like they're not going to fire you because of who you are, right?
Yeah.
So she never got any real awards or acclaim for any of her, like a lot of her contemporaries did. And in 1962, she played Jo Courtney in the role of Jo Courtney, J-O, woman, in a play called The Walk on the Wild Side. Oh, wait, maybe. No. Sorry. It wasn't a play. It was a movie. Walk on the Wild Side. And it's one of the first portrayal of lesbians in Hollywood.
Oh.
So, hello.
Good for her.
I know.
I never knew about
this.
that one either. I've never heard of that movie.
No. And then She was in the Thornbirds.
Oh,
I didn't know.
right.
I didn't know this.
The Thornbirds is now just this hub for all of these people.
I mean, the Thornbirds was the gayest thing there was.
The gayest thing that ever was, and it's about a priest banging a girl.
So anyway, Barbara is older. She's the older woman who like has the thing for the priest in this show. I barely remember the Thornbirds.
I'm going to have to watch that
I know.
Thornbirds again.
But I remember when it would show up on TV like once a year or something like that.
Well, yeah, every mom would just have soaked panties watching the Thornbirds.
Right. And Richard Chamberlain is so handsome in that show.
Oh my God! Looking at him when he was in his 20s, he was like the most handsome bitch I'd ever seen.
Yeah,
like so good looking.
Yeah, like unbelievably good looking.
Yeah, like it's almost your eyes hurt.
Yeah.
And then you want to say, "Can you take off your pants in this picture?"
Right.
Or will I be disappointed?
Right. That's right. So, so she's like older in this movie.
Okay.
So she's part of the love triangle in the Thornbirds, which I don't remember anything at all. But I remember my parents
around.
Yeah, I remember my parents loved this show. But she would get an honorary Oscar for her contribution to film in 1981.
Well,
so I feel like it came off of the heels of the Thornbirds, and they showed this one scene, and she did it all in one take, and it is so intense, and you're just like, this is like incredible acting. But anyway, she's just so awesome. So here's another quote. So this is from her. She says, "I heard that Dietrich, Garbo, most of the girls from Europe swing either way. Then I found out it's true."
You sure did.
Oh dear. So, anyway, that show kind of wraps up with the Oscar.
Yeah.
And
for her, I'm glad
that moment. But there's a lot of speculation that her marriages were what they called lavender marriages, which were like arranged by the studios, right, to conceal whatever their secret is, which is most of them being gay. And
where the wife could have been gay and the husband is gay, and they just then could do their own
all
thing.
For show,
but,
right?
Totally all for show,
and all arranged and protected by the studios,
right?
So Barbara Stanwyck died in January of 1990. So she was pretty old.
Yeah,
but she was like a badass, and I love her.
She is a badass.
All right. You're up.
Well, yeah, I'm on the same vein. So her contemporary, Marlene Dietrich.
Yes.
Who is charming. And I got most of this information, which Barbara Stanwyck was also in, from a book called The Sewing Circle by Axel Madsen. And there was this quote at the beginning that I really liked of this book, talking about the movie star status of these women, like, Garbo and Dietrich and Stanwyck. And it said, the screen catapulted a few women to unheard of radiance and sway and gave them influence and opportunities that was exception to a few monarchs no woman ever had. So in the 1920s, 30s, these actresses had power to do a few things, and talk to men a certain way, or had this power in business that they wouldn't have had if they weren't movie stars, or to, be gay and have this sewing circle, which Marlene Dietrich, it was her name of her club, where women could go and be openly gay at someone's home and have some good times. Dietrich said it was a place for good time Charlene's. It was for lesbians that were in the performing arts.
Oh dear.
And they would just go and have, I guess, some crackers and cheese and puss. It sounds fun.
Some sugar puss O'Shea.
Yes. some puss. But yeah.
Oh my God.
They had some pull because they were these movie stars that made money for men. So the men didn't slap them around too much, I guess. And then I got information from this YouTube. She does this series on YouTube, and her name is Jessica Kellgren Fozard. And she does a series on lesbians, and the one on Marlene Dietrich is called The Bisexual Anti-Fascist. And
Jeez.
that's who she is. But it's really good. She does a great job. So Marlene was born in Chamonix in Berlin in 1901. And her parents were pretty much middle class. I think her dad died when she was young, but her mom remarried someone middle class. She had a tutor and learned French, learned English really young, became pretty fluent in those languages. She was in the arts. She liked theater, and she was really good at the violin. She was great at piano. She ended up going to a boarding school, but I guess she was working her female teachers a lot and other female students a lot. I don't know if I think she completed the school, but she was known to like just have sex with everyone there at the school, including the teachers, like a lot of the teachers. Then she started working for this theater company. She ended up being a chorus girl, which in 1923, so she's like 22, 21, she gets noticed by a casting director in Chamonix, and his name was Rudolph Sieber, and she ends up marrying him, and they have a daughter named Maria. So this casting director gets her cast in a German movie called The Blue Angels, and it's hugely popular. It's the first talkie German movie that has sound, and it's a huge success in Germany, and I think even all around the world. But by 1929, Marlene and Rudolph are separated, but they're still like best friends. They're like besties that are married because Marlene is not into the weighing as much as she wants.
Yes.
So Rudolph has a mistress, and he goes to Paris and just lives with his mistress, and Marlene just takes the daughter, and she gets signed by Paramount because Greta Garbo, kind of her contemporary, is MGM. So Marlene was kind of like Paramount's answer to MGM's Greta Garbo. So Marlene comes to Hollywood, and she didn't really like LA because she's coming from Europe, you know, Berlin, and going to Paris. And LA at the time in 1929 had zero culture. You know, there's no opera. There's no like theaters really for play. It's just a movie studio and sets and sets and sets. There's not even like, there's a few bars, and that's about it. You know, like there's no LA culture yet. And she never really unpacked. She just kind of always kept, she never really wanted to live there, but she did. I mean, she ended up buying a house, but, and again, after World War I, women, even all around the world, obviously were used to having more freedom because the men were all dead. They were at war.
Right.
So the women had no husband to tell them to get up, bitch, and make a dinner. You know, so they had all this freedom, or they were gone. And so women kind of had more, I can do what I want. And Marlene was really into, as a lot of these women that will know, like wearing men's clothes. And she wore men's clothes mainly, but they kept asking her, like, why are you so into wearing men's clothes? She's like, I just like to wear pants because you can move around a lot easier in goddamn pants than a dress. Yes. Like, it's just, I just want to wear pants. You can do stuff in pants. And they're just women. They're like women's pants. It's not men's clothes. And she said if I could wear jeans, she actually said if I could wear jeans all the time, I would wear jeans. Like she knew jeans. She had a million pair of jeans. I just want to wear jeans. But she couldn't even wear jeans outside. That was so scandalous to wear jeans. So she wore them in her house. But they have pictures of her in like her men's clothes, which are just fucking pants and a shirt. And her style was so
also
unbelievable.
known as clothes.
Yeah,
Just
it's clothes. But her style is so cool. Like, she could go out today and be like the best dressed bitch on the street, and it would blend in today. It's like so classic and amazing. I just was looking through every picture of like how she's put together. It's just like, that's how people should dress. She just looked like, my God, like perfection.
Yeah.
And just how she was styled and everything in her pants. Like, how can this not be looked at as like the greatest thing? And she was told she was going to get arrested if she wore these goddamn pants around. And I just like, she looks so beautiful and perfect. In fact, Greta Garbo, who would also wear pants around, the studio made her go to a restaurant that she went to eat lunch in pants, and she had to apologize to the whole restaurant crew or the restaurant staff for her trousered attitude. Quote. Her trousered attitude. That bitch had a trousered attitude. And she better not come in here again. I don't know. You better not come in here again, bitch, with that trousered attitude.
That's right.
We're going to piss in your salad.
Is that code for like lesbian?
Yeah, I guess maybe a trousered attitude is a lesbian.
Trousered attitude.
I feel like a trousered attitude today. I'm going to go down to Hennepin Avenue.
It's so strange. You know, I bet a lot of her style has something to do with being European. Because, like,
I think so too,
you know, when you go to Europe,
Berlin,
like,
yeah.
Everybody is so stylish, and they're just walking to like work.
Oh my God, in Germany, yeah, everyone looks totally put together and not like big slob American.
Mm-hmm.
And even in this time in the 20s, I think coming from war where everyone died, I think they just thought, if you want to be fucking gay, who cares? Because everyone just lived to be 19 and died.
Right.
Let's just enjoy everything. Berlin was pretty open to gay culture. Paris was way open to gay culture. And everybody was gaying around the whole place anyway in Europe. And that's what Marlene was used to. Then she comes to LA and everybody's a freaking prude and she can't even wear her pants. And she just thinks, what the fuck is going on? And Greta Garbo has to apologize for a trousered attitude. And then she was threatened to be arrested for wearing pants. And then Katharine Hepburn at one time, the studio said, if you keep wearing pants into the studio, we're going to cut your salary or whatever. And so she said, fuck you. And so they took all her pants from her dressing room. So she just came out in her underwear to the studio.
Oh my God.
These ladies who did that, though.
Yes, of course.
So Marlene right away is put to work at Paramount, and she's making movies really quick. So she makes 6 movies in quick succession, and the director knew that there was something hot about her wearing these men's clothes. And so there was at least one scene in every movie where she's dressed like a man, like in a tux or like a full suit with like a men's hat, like a tie or a bow tie. And they actually pushed this, they called it her dual nature, because women would kind of like get hot looking like at her looking like a man dressed like that. And the men liked her feminine side. Kind of like Emma Darcy. Have you seen her from House of Dragon? Or them? She's they, them. Emma from
What's House of Dragon?
Oh, did you ever watch Game of Thrones?
No.
Oh, Jesus H. But look up Emma Darcy.
Okay.
Emma is one that I wouldn't say no to. I feel like Emma has the same Marlene Dietrich vibe.
Yeah, Marlene in the tux like look, like that's the image I have of her in my head.
And that's kind of what they pushed. So she was in a movie called Morocco in 1930, and that had the first lesbian kiss. So she goes out in her tux into the audience and just kisses some guy's wife on the mouth during her act. Gives her the old 1-2.
Wow.
And they just had it in there, you know. So, but like she did have that
French
very
kiss
European,
or a German kiss.
yeah. I think just an American puss kiss, but she kissed her right on the lips.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Now, when the Lindbergh baby, I think, was kidnapped around this time. You know, Charles Lindbergh, his baby was kidnapped, but killed accidentally, like almost right away.
Yeah.
And that scared the shit out of everybody in Hollywood. So Marlene got really nervous because she started getting letters threatening her daughter Maria. The same like that Charles did, trying to say we're going to kidnap her and we want like this money. And she called the police, and even the police got involved in this whole kidnapping scheme. And it ended up not coming to fruition or happening. But she ended up buying a huge mansion with security and having all these people around her, guards, and all this extra security for Maria, and taking a lot more money. You know, she needed to spend a lot more money to keep her in that style so she could have all the security for Maria. But also she would have lovers in all the time, female lovers that would come and male lovers, and her husband's in Paris with his mistress. So she told all her lovers, like, they would have sex, whatever, female or male. She said she started just giving the men blowjobs because she didn't want to have sex with them. She'd have sex with the women, and she said, I like sex with the women, and the men should just give them a handy or a blowjob. And then she would say, get the fuck out right away. Get the fuck out. So they would have to get the fuck out before the morning, before Maria would come to breakfast. She said, get out, and they would have to get past the guards and the security and get out of the house before her daughter woke up. And she'd kick all of them out all the time. But they'd come in, she'd sleep with them, and then get the fuck out. And she'd kick them out one after the other.
Wow, what a legend.
I know. Just revolving door. And get the fuck out. But then she started, since there were so few, there were some gay bars in LA that were, you know, pretty well known. Like, this is a gay bar. And she would go there, and then she's still with it being illegal, obviously, in LA for the next 40 years or whatever it was. She started her sewing circle, which again is that group of lesbians of the performing arts, the Get Along or Good Time Charlene's.
Yeah.
And it was around from 1910 to 1950. And so all sorts of Hollywood lesbians were in it. And that's how they would meet and socialize and just talk about all sorts of different topics and just kind of hang out. And I mean, tons of women were in it. And this book talks about a lot of their stories and how many of them had to marry. They did those lavender marriages. They married gay men for cover, or they would marry men who didn't really want to have sex with them. I guess they could find them, or they would be paid off.
Who was that?
Or if they had, who, I don't know. Or maybe their penis was cut off in a weird accident.
In World War One.
World War One, and their dick got blown off.
Oh my God.
But a lot of these women then would be set up in these marriages where their husbands are just cover. And then they would just come and meet their real lover at the sewing circle or who they were into, and their husbands would be off doing God knows what. And they were very comfortable. That's how they had to live, though, you know. Because
nobody's husband was like, oh, what did you make at the sewing circle?
Yeah.
Like, you go every week and you don't make anything.
Where's the goddamn quilt for our bed? He said would be ready.
I thought you were making a pillowcase.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, about that.
And then when World War II came out, this bitch Marlene worked her ass off. Now, she is charming. She was probably one of the hardest working bitches in Hollywood of all of them that worked for the American cause. Now, I think she even ended her German citizenship. She traveled all over and did constant, almost nonstop USO tours. She rallied hard for the U.S., selling bonds when she could. She she stopped working and just nonstop worked for the war effort. And when she would be close to Germany or close to the, war fronts, and they would say, are you scared being so close to being, Germany? And she'd say, I'm doing this because that's what a decent person would do. Yeah. She said, I'm doing what I can do to fight for this country. Right. And she ended up getting in 1947 the Medal of Freedom for the work she did for the troops. Wow. I mean, she just that's all she did was just work for troops constantly. While her bitch ass sister, who still lived in Germany, literally operated a movie theater just for Nazis and concentration camp officers.
Oh, like propaganda,
Yes.
like theaters.
And it was only theaters for Nazis and officers who operated the concentration camps. So Marlene literally disowned her, and from that moment on, she never said she had a sister. She just totally disowned her and pretended she didn't exist. Like, totally disowned her. And then later in life, she took that act she did at the USO, which was like she would be in like a sexy suit with like a sexy tuxedo and a hat. And she turned it into like a one-woman show. And she kind of just did that for like the next 40 years. That's what she did, like on the stage.
Dinner theater?
Yes!
Or like...
that's kind of just what she did. She just did like a one-woman show
Queen Mary?
all over. Yeah.
Wow.
Like wherever she could do it, she just did that for like 50 years. Now, she had she had a lot of lovers. Like, on the thing I watched, she put up the people she slept with, and it was like 1 million men and 1 million women. Like,
Jeez.
She slept with everybody. But she had some long-term lovers for women. One that she stole from Greta Garbo. And she stole Greta Garbo's man, too. But we'll talk about that at a later time. Yeah. Yeah. And then so like the last 40 years of her life, she also slept with 3 Kennedys.
Oh my
Forgot
God.
which one they were. I mean, she porked everybody. Every woman and every man.
I mean, she's the oldest whore.
She's the oldest whore. She was not ugly, but she was an old whore.
Holy cow.
And so she died in Paris in 1992, but she tried to work like as long as she could doing that one-woman show, and that she would do the first part in her little sexy tuxedo suit with hat. No, that was her second part. The first part, she would sing songs in like a sexy dress, and then she'd put on the little onesie, and that's kind of what she did. But then I looked up birth control, because she fucked everyone,
right?
But she only had 1 kid, so it's like, how everybody fucked everybody. Like, I have another podcast called "It's Always the Husband," and on that, it's a true crime where the husband kills their wives. But we ended up somehow talking about Errol Flynn, who is an old school. He was Robin Hood in like the old 20s and 30s movies.
Yes.
We talked about his dick was covered in genital warts because he fucked so many people.
Right.
There were condoms, because I think condoms were invented in like 1848 by like Goodyear. Like, they were literally rubber. And
I'm sure that felt great.
Yeah, diaphragms and everything were invented in like 1948. You could buy them at like the Olson's Mercantile, like on Little House. Like Mercantiles had them. You could order all sorts of birth control from catalogs.
Wow.
You know, and they would send you until like the Comstock,
like the Sears
Act.
catalog.
Yes, you could order diaphragms, sponges, condoms, and they would just come to your house or go to your mercantile and buy them until the Comstock Act of like 1870, and it outlawed all birth control in the United States only. The rest of Europe was like, why are you guys such cunts?
I mean, they still say that now.
Yeah. I mean, what the hell is wrong with you?
God.
But of course, I'm sure there were still condoms around, but women had to use, in the 1930s, a Lysol douche. It was effective. It was a Lysol douche.
Oh, God.
But I guess there was kind of like a cervical cap that kind of works sometimes. But there was no birth control. What did they... And so I guess the studios would send their actresses to Tijuana to get abortions.
Oh,
constantly.
my God.
And so you would have to go to Tijuana once a month.
Oh.
I don't get it.
We went to college in San Diego, so
yeah.
I've been to Tijuana a lot, more than I would care to admit. But ugh.
You never had an abortion there.
Well, not officially. Don't tell the studio.
Yeah. So I don't know how these women. I don't know how in the 20s they fucked all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They must have just had abortions all the time.
And how do you not even have like the herpes and all.
Well, they had to have
syphilis.
had syph and herpes.
Oh,
I think
God.
everybody had genital warts.
Ugh.
I think their business was fucked.
It had to be gnarly.
Maybe that's why they didn't get pregnant, because they had such syphilis.
Yeah.
They couldn't.
Or maybe they weren't doing things,
Maybe that's... Well, I guess she
to
only
get
gave...
pregnant. So,
Yeah.
She
She had sex with the women, and she only gave handies and BJs to the men, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe then
Right. So
that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe she was thinking. I guess she outthought me there on that one.
She
You bested me, Marlena. I guess you had it. I didn't have to look that up at all.
She was ahead of her time.
She was ahead of her time.
Holy cow. That's amazing.
I know.
Yeah, I love doing this and like learning about all
I've
of
learned
these
so
people.
much.
It's so fascinating, and really learning about like the studio contracts and like all the
They owned
weird
these
stuff.
people. Yeah.
And yeah, they really did, and it's
Like,
actually
literally owned them.
disturbing
Yeah.
that industry was allowed to be, just it was like perfectly fine, and they had all these people under contract, and it's so bizarre.
Yeah,
But-
you had to ask permission to like go anywhere. Your studio boss, like if your cousin died in Ohio, you would have to ask, and they might say, "No, you can't go. You got to do this." Like you couldn't do anything.
Well, and they had like weekly salaries and stuff, so they must have been doing work all of the time, even if weren't shooting a film or something. So, like, yeah, it's really weird. And I think we'll talk more about these in our next ones, because there's so many of those stories.
Right.
But holy cow!
I know.
Well.
All right, that
was
one.
Barbara
and Marlena.
Golly.
Oh, and you know Madeline Kahn from Blazing Saddles when she's Lily von Stoop?
Yes.
That's how Marlene Dietrich sounded. Exactly.
Oh, my God.
I think she just took it from, like, every time, if I close my eyes and listen to Marlena speak in a movie, that's Madeline Kahn.
Oh, yeah.
She must have exactly copied her voice. So I giggled. Because I just picture Madeline Kahn in Blazing Saddles. So I couldn't even watch the movies seriously because I'm picturing.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh, Madeline
iconic
Kahn,
Madeline Kahn.
what an icon. Holy cow.
No, she was perfection.
She was.
Oh. All right. Until next time, we have 2 more exciting bitches for you that I'm excited to talk about.
Me too.
Yeah. All right. Bye-bye.
See ya.